with Fabio Santomauro. Fabio is Marketing and Innovation Director at Omnisys, and with his talk, we will keep the focus on new technologies, since Fabio will speak on the topic of enabling waste value transformation through digital technologies. Welcome, Fabio.
Thank you very much. Okay, so today I'm going to speak about circular economy, particularly for what concern the pre-consumer waste. Many people, I think in the audience, when you look at the media, most of the time you see that it's very, very often speaking about urban waste. Industrial waste is actually 80% of the total in Italy. So it's really, let's say, the most significant part of the total waste that is produced. If we go to the next slide, please. Okay, I have. Thank you. So we're going to talk about three different processes here, which are, I think, the main processes that can be related to the circular economy in this field. The first one is an open circular economy path, in which you basically have some waste that is produced by a company, and then you have a series of industrial plants that are basically recovering the material. And the material, when it's recovered, when you actually reach the end of waste status, can be put in another company and can be used as a material for production again. The second path is a closed loop. And here, basically, it's very similar to the first one. The only difference is that the producer of the waste becomes basically the one that takes back the material when it's recovered and puts it back into the production. The third one is something quite ambitious at the moment. We see some examples in the sector, but honestly, it's very hard to achieve. It's what we call industrial symbiosis. So here, basically, you are able to find, let's say, someone that, let me simplify like that, can really take that material, which is something is a byproduct from you, and can put it into the production directly, without any kind of, let's say, particular, let's say, treatment of the material itself. This is, of course, is very hard to achieve because, as you can imagine, if it was easy, it would be already done. And here, the real challenge is actually to find a match between, let's say, the demand and the offer of the material itself. So, what the status at the moment of the circular economy in Europe? Let's say, for what concerns the recovery of the material in general, the material are quite well recovered in Europe. More than 60% of the waste is going to a process of recovery, which is anyway a good number, and is actually increasing over time. In Italy, let me say we are among the best. I think in the top three, definitely. Probably last year we were the second country in Europe, so we're definitely very good at this. But there is a very, very big gap in what is called circular index, meaning, yes, you recover the material, but then when we look at the production of the companies, most of the materials that they use is virgin material, so it's not the one that is being recovered. So somehow, let me say, the loop is not closed, okay? At the moment, this circular index is 12% in Europe. In Italy is slightly higher. And there is the ambition to reach 24% in 2030, which is still not a staggering number, but considering from where we start, definitely ambitious. And there are 100 billion funding support from Europe that have been put in place actually a couple of months ago through this Clean Industrial Act that you can see below in the slide. And we will see if this can be, somehow of support to push this kind of increase in the circular index itself. So I think it's clear that there is value. If we look at the third process, that is the one of industrial symbiosis, Europe actually did did let's say a calculation, an estimate, that if we would be able to do industrial symbiosis in Europe, we could produce about 3 billion of value per year within companies. So of course there is also an economic reason, I mean, to do that. But as I was saying, I mean, this is not very easy. Um, Let me say something which is, I mean, maybe trivial, but I think it's something that gives you a bit of, let's say, more information about how to do this in a company. So first of all, most of the company that we enter, because the company in which I'm sorry, I didn't present Omnisys, but I didn't want to, to sell you anything. So I just wanted to give you some information about the general environment at the moment. But let me say, my company provides this type of services. So really, try to put in place supply chains that, somehow create value from waste. The first thing we have to do is an assessment, because most of the industrial company in which we go, they actually do not have idea about how much waste they produce and which kind of waste they produce. Might sound strange. That's the way it is. Very often it's given by the fact that they have different industrial sites and that they do not have an integrated view. So it's quite difficult to have the data quite easily. So the first thing is understand your starting point, of course. Done this, you have to basically set up this kind of supply chain that we were seeing in the first slide. And this is actually quite difficult at the moment because of course, you need to have knowledge of the different players in the supply chain, but then you need also to do some experiment, let me say, because each material has different properties. Each type of waste is a bit different. So you really need to do tests, okay? And you really need to see if, your hypothesis, when you build something on paper, is really going to work, is really producing something that can somehow, run smoothly into the system. After that, I mean, what we basically do is we manage the process, the operation, and we keep an eye on them to make sure through different KPIs that somehow, the things continuously improve over time. And particularly, we always give a look about different technologies that might appear into the ecosystem in Italy or in Europe, because very often something that you weren't able to achieve in first hand can be, achieved because something new pops out in terms of technology or ability within the ecosystem. For what concerns technology, I mean, technology can definitely help a circular economy. From my experience, I'll tell you about two technologies that are bringing some value on the table at the moment. The first one is artificial intelligence. Actually, it's not the generative AI that is at the moment particularly, let's say, fashion, but it's a very simple neural networks that is around for many years now. That basically, with an optical sensor, can recognize the type of waste you have within your waste bin in the company. Why this is important? Because sorting the waste is the first step to make sure you can actually build up a recovery supply chain for the material. Sorting can be expensive if you do it afterwards. So you need to differentiate the waste at the beginning. You do this at home, so it sounds very trivial, but in companies can be actually more complicated than what it looks like at home. So basically, with this type of tools, you can basically, I mean, here you see a waste bin in which there should be only paper, but sometimes, you have some contaminants, for example, a bottle of water. The system recognizes it and gives an alert. So people can actually, try to keep an eye on the fact that things are running correctly. The other things you can do with these type of systems, you can also automatize the operation. So basically, it helps you to see when your bin is filled, and you can actually automatically run the logistics. The other type of technology I want to talk about, because I think it's relevant and at the moment is probably a bit underground, but you will hear that a lot in the near future, is a digital passport based on blockchain. Of course, you want to uh, have the ability to take a snapshot of each of the actor of the supply chain that you built. You want to keep an eye on what is happening in the supply chain. And you want to do this per each type of waste, sometimes even per each piece of waste. I mean, depends, sometimes you have, for example, waste that is given by products unsold from the fashion industry. You want to be sure that, those products don't take dark channel and they really go into the specific path that you were actually building. So with digital passport, you can actually, um, it's basically a legal tech platform in which you collect the data, and this data have a legal meaning, meaning if something doesn't go as it should, definitely this is going to help you in case you have some issues. And this is actually a very powerful technology. We that entered in Omnisys a month ago. I mean, we basically bought a startup that is doing this, and we are deploying this technology in different cases. Well, these are just illustrative images. Of course, you can collect many data per each step of the cycle, and you can also have life cycle assessment per each step, so you can really see the environmental impact of what you are doing with the material. Now, I think, yes, we have time. I'll give you some examples just to, let me say, put something on the table that is a bit more concrete. The first example is a company which is called Man and Oil and Marine. This company is basically active in the oil and gas industry, is producing pipes, okay, rubber tubes, basically. This company wanted to manage, let's say, waste in a carbon neutral fashion. He wanted to reduce basically the carbon footprint of the product that was putting into the system, which is funny because you think about oil and gas, and of course, but still, that was something that was requested by the buyers of this company. So in a sense, it was something they really wanted to push. So what we have done here, so first of all, we brought at the maximum level we could the recovery of material. We reached 97%. 3% of the, let's say, waste wasn't really recoverable, to be honest, at least not now. Then we'll see. And the other thing we did, we actually rearranged all the logistics, trying to find plants that were very close to the production site. So all of this was basically done through, of course, our technician, but also our platform, digital platform, that is monitoring the emission per each stream of wave, CO2 emission. And everything which was left over, of course, we basically use a carbon credit to offset. So this is actually one of the example of projects that can be done in let's say, in open circular economy. Looking at closed loop circular economy, this is another sector. This is another company. It's called Ifaba. Probably many of you don't know, at least I didn't, that when you produce shoes, you basically have some sort of piece of plastics that looks like the shoes you want to produce, and the shoes is produced on top of them, right? And this piece of plastic are different for any type of model of shoes and for any size, of course. And this company was basically providing this type of material to many fashion industry, very famous one. I mean, Dolce & Gabbana, Chanel, a very, very famous brand. So what he wanted to do is recover, let me say, at the end of the cycle, this kind of piece of plastic, recycle them and put it back into the production. So basically what we did is we put in place an inverse logistics system. So all the customers at the end of the use of this kind of a product, they were basically giving back to the company, which was basically through mechanical recycling. able to go back to the initial material and put into the new form of plastic, let's say the product. Finally, this is an example which is it's a bit funny, but I like. Just wanted to give you, things that are not related between each other. This is industrial symbiosis. A company is called Ontex, and is operating in the south of Italy, and they basically produce diapers for kids, but also for adults. One of the waste which was produced here was cellulose, so sort of a very, very fine dust of paper, which um, it wasn't. I mean, it was too fine, too small the fiber to really recover. So what they were doing is they were burning. Okay, there wasn't really a recover possible for this material. Actually, what we find out is that worms, earthworms, eat cellulose. So we found nearby the company, another company which was producing fertilizer through earthworms, and this is basically created a very interesting symbiosis because now that company is buying this product, so from Ontex, and basically, I mean, even the fertilizers became better, in terms of quality. So it's quite funny, I think. And that's it.